My dad, my colleague, my dearest friend in the world, John Robbins, is no longer in an earthly body. But he is with us. He is in us, in my DNA, but in all of us. And so at this moment of heartbreak and loss, we also recognize such gratitude that a being of such clarity and purpose and integrity has lived in us and has inspired us. And now we are blessed to carry on his legacy. This video is a honoring of his life and what his life means to us and his community and to the world. Here's a little video from the film Love Over Money, a little clip from it that tells you a little bit of his story.
I was born in 1947 in Glendale, California, into a fairly normal American family. But that soon changed when my father, Irv Robbins, founded one of the biggest companies in American history, Baskin-Robbins, 31 flavors. The company grew and grew. We moved to North Hollywood, and my dad became enamored of power and money and success. And he became friends with some very powerful people, including Richard Nixon, who came to our house often. There was an ice cream cone swimming pool in our backyard. There were days I ate ice cream for breakfast. I worked with my dad and was groomed to succeed him one day and then eventually take over the company. But as I was becoming older and my own values were beginning to emerge, I was growing apart from my dad. Nixon was propagating the war in Vietnam, and I was subject to the draft.
In what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation,
I decided to go to the South to try to work with Dr. King. My dad doesn't like Dr. King at all. He's got some really nasty things to say about him. And when I was 21, I decided to walk away from it all, to walk away from Baskin-Robbins, $1 billion inheritance, and any trust funds or money. He thought I was insane, and he got very angry. I felt the wall. There was often a wall there, but it got huge at that moment. And we didn't talk for several years after that. And moved with my wife to a little log cabin that we built in the woods, where we lived very simply for the next 10 years. I wrote a book. I sent my dad a copy, but we were pretty estranged at the time, and I phoned him. And the first thing I said was, "Dad, I've got some good news." And his answer was, "What could be good news coming from you?" And I said, "Well, I've published a book." He replied he would not look at it. My dad continued to eat the way he had always eaten. By the time my dad was in his 60s, his health was deteriorating pretty badly. He had heart disease, he had diabetes, and the prognosis was that he could be facing the amputation of a foot or even a leg, that he could go blind. And one day, the cardiologist takes my book and hands it to him and said, "I think you should read this book." Not knowing that this is his son's book. My dad knew, but he didn't tell him. What happened next took me, my father, and the world by surprise. My name is John Robbins, and this is my story.
My dad inspired millions of people to make conscious choices for their health and for the health of the planet. He has helped so many people to reverse heart disease, to reverse type 2 diabetes, to lose excess weight, to feel more alive and congruent in their bodies, to be more aligned with their sense of purpose on this earth. It has been such a miracle and a blessing to work with him and stand with him and spread a message of health and vitality with him. What a lot of people don't know is that his passion for health, his commitment to helping people be as healthy as possible, grew out of great suffering. His own health journey was complicated, and he always sought to make the most of it. Here's a little clip from a video we made a couple of years ago about his health journey as we were sharing it with our community.
I'll be sharing news with you that is vulnerable for me, and for some of you, may be surprising or even shocking. In fact, this is by far the most vulnerable thing I've ever shared in public. And please know that I do this with a wide open heart in the hope that something about my journey will support you on yours. I got polio when I was 5 in 1952. My case was mild compared to what a lot of other kids experienced. I was never in an iron lung, but I did completely lose all use of my legs, and the doctors told my parents that they didn't know if I would ever walk again. Eventually, I regained some mobility, but my left leg stopped growing for a very long time, and throughout my adolescence, I walked with a painful limp. It was a tough way to grow up, but a lot of children who got polio had it worse. When I was 18, I still couldn't put much weight on my left leg, and I needed to have 3-inch lifts put in all of my left shoes in order to walk at all. And at that time, doctors told me that I would never walk normally.
I wasn't born yet at that point, obviously, but I know what happened next. My dad's never been the kind of person who takes a medical diagnosis as a destiny. Almost immediately after he and my mom met, they both dramatically changed their diets and their lifestyles. They became whole foods, plant-based eaters before the phrase even existed. They started practicing yoga for several hours every day, and although my dad could never do the standing poses, he became remarkably adept at some of the other ones. He went on to become a yoga teacher and even a teacher of yoga teachers. And he began also to work with the traumas that were so evident in his body. Can you tell us what happened next?
Yes, I can. I'm happy to share what happened next because it's a lovely story. After 5 or 6 years of this new way of living, I began to see some unexpected results. My left leg and the whole left side of my body was becoming stronger, and my body was coming into more alignment, and my posture was improving greatly. And I became able to stand with some weight on my left leg. Eventually, I didn't need lifts in my left shoes anymore, and my walking improved, and I found that I could actually jog a little bit. And with all of this, my passion for understanding body mechanics led me to study various forms of body work, and I became a professional body worker. My left leg was still not as strong as the right leg, but eventually I became able to walk normally and even to run.
Now today, my dad's life and work have played a seminal role in inspiring the modern food revolution movement. Most people don't know that in many ways the choices he advocates are the very ones that transformed his life. And yet now we're here with you today, in part because of a new and distressing reality, which is that my dad has developed post-polio syndrome, or PPS. Although you may never have heard of post-polio syndrome, a significant percentage of the people who got polio and survived, and particularly those who worked extra hard to achieve things in spite of being stricken with the disease, have suffered later in their lives from this condition. So here's what the medical literature says about PPS. It affects between 25 and 60% of polio survivors. And unlike polio itself, PPS is not contagious. But PPS is serious. Parts of the body that regain movement after being paralyzed by the original polio can again become paralyzed. Brain fatigue is a very common symptom. There are often problems with concentration, attention and memory, and difficulties with breathing and with swallowing. And according to Western medicine, the symptoms get worse over the years. There's no cure for PPS, and there's actually no treatment for it. Nearly all polio survivors who develop PPS do so within 15 to 40 years after their initial polio. But in my dad's case, it was more than 65 years later. One post-polio syndrome expert who for decades ran a clinic for people with PPS told us he knows of no other case in the medical record of PPS being delayed this long. He said that my dad's healthy diet and lifestyle appear to be responsible for the fact that he lived for so many extra decades in excellent health.
Yes, but PPS is part of my journey now, and I'm going to be honest with you, it is not a walk in the park, pun intended. And this is especially difficult for me personally, and at times I felt ashamed that this is happening because I've spent most of my life standing for healthy choices that enable people to be far healthier as we age. But Brené Brown, who is an expert on shame, says that shame is fed by two things, and those are secrecy and silence. So thank you for allowing me to share with you now and to break the chains of secrecy and silence. Because I am gradually losing the use of my legs, there will be no more running marathons or climbing mountains for me.
This is all so sad. Most of all for you, of course, but also for the many, many people who love you, including me.
Well, thank you, Ocean. You know, your love and your support in this journey mean the world to me.
I know it might sound trite under the circumstances, but I want to say I'm proud of you for how you're working with all this. While not many of us obviously have PPS, I think most of us can relate to the feeling of doing our very best and still not getting all the outcomes that we want, whether it's in health or in parenting, in work, in finances, or in any other domain of life. We all face the reality that some things are in our control and some things are not. So now I want to ask you to tell us, what, if anything, are you learning from this? Are you finding any pathways to make anything positive out of the suffering?
Well, I've always believed that how we respond to the inevitable challenges that come into our lives is part of what shapes us as human beings. I don't think our joys arise because our lives are free from grief. I think our joys often arise from how we care for ourselves and each other in the midst of the things that break our hearts. I find myself returning again and again as a touchstone to the serenity prayer, in which we ask for the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, and we ask for the courage to change the things that we can, and we ask for the wisdom to know the difference. Now, for me, working out and clean eating and cultivating an attitude of gratitude are examples of how I'm trying to change the things that I can. But each of us is living in a vulnerable human body, and many of us are facing the inevitable aging process. So while it can be very difficult, sometimes we all really do need to find the serenity to accept some things that we cannot change.
Okay, so if you don't mind, I'd like to take this a little bit more personal. And can you tell us how that's going for you?
Well, I won't pretend that PPS hasn't been very challenging for me. I'm not a stranger to doing hard things, but in the last few years, I have needed to call on every inner resource I could find to carry on in a body that in some ways is very fit and healthy, but in other ways is falling apart. And my goal in this is to find as much joy as I can, even with my PPS. Now, some people might question my sanity for speaking of joy in the same breath as PPS. Many of us think that joy and grief are opposites, and that happiness is the absence of things like heartbreak and pain and sorrow. But I've come to see that that is not the truth. I've come to see that happiness and joy are the result of how we care for each other and ourselves in and through the heartbreaks and the grief we will all know in our lives. Maybe we're here not just to change the world, but also to love the world. Not just to change ourselves, but also to love ourselves. I've been seeing how crucial it is that I learned to bring compassion to this journey, that I decided to try to be one of the people who has compassion for me. This isn't making me special, but it does seem to be making me more human. Maybe some of life's heartbreaks have helped to shape you too. Maybe you found ways to use them to grow in wisdom or in faith or in compassion, or to come into more attunement with your life purpose. For all of you who are here now, Whether you've been part of this movement for decades or this is our first time connecting, I can't thank you enough for your presence and for whatever ways you have been or will be part of the work to enhance the quality of life for all beings on this planet. And for those of you who are struggling with chronic conditions that can't be cured either by diet and lifestyle or by alternative or conventional medical treatments, I offer you my heart. I offer you my understanding. And I offer you my love.
My dad inspired so many people. He's helped to inspire movements for ways of living and walking on this earth that are aligned with who we are as humans. How can we live and eat in ways that contribute to a more beautiful, a more ethical, and a more healthy world? His work has helped to inspire millions of people, including many authors and leaders of thought and consciousness and healing and transformation all over the planet. So as we were nearing the end of his life, I reached out to a few of them. I thought, well, there's often a memorial after somebody dies where you hear all these beautiful things people say about them. I didn't want him to miss out on getting to hear some of those things while he was alive. So seeing the writing on the wall, knowing the end was on the horizon, I reached out to some of the people who have been touched and inspired by his work and are carrying that torch forward into the future. And we created a little living memorial video for him, and our family got to sit and watch it with him. And tears were shed, and we felt the beauty of this movement that carries on and lives on through all of us. So we want to share with you now some of the clips from that living memorial video. We called it a tribute film. Here we go.
I feel a sense of gratitude towards this man, a sense of love and appreciation that I can't fully express, but I will tell you this. He is one of my life's heroes. And I know I'm not alone in saying that. Thank you, John, for living such a meaningful life, for planting seeds that are going to reap a harvest for generations yet unborn, for doing the kind of things that are going to help humanity continue to rise towards our highest collective virtues. And I want you to know that your life is one that I think colossally will continue.
I believe John inspired a very powerful vision of ethics that is really the foundation of the plant-based movement. John sees the world with more clarity, consciousness, and sanity than anyone I have ever met. His vision is one in which the world is a place of goodness and peace, a place where all life is valued. It's a place where self-worth is not tied to net worth, but rather to character, integrity, and actions. It is one in which love, compassion, and understanding are priorities, while violence, intolerance, and indifference are rarely encountered. And the one thing about John is he doesn't just write about these things. He doesn't just teach about these things. He lives them, he breathes them, and he radiates them.
John gave us hope, and that hope was in the form of power that we have in our hands to change our food choices, to change our food economies, one meal at a time. And my thought is that we don't want to drop that. We don't want to fail to use that. We want to take that power in hand and use it to improve this world for ourselves, yes, but more importantly for the generations to come.
I could make an argument that John's one of the most influential people on the planet. And knowing what he went through, knowing that he had a father that was so steadfast in his commitment to getting ice cream into the world. And here's John, who grows up, eats vegetables. heals his polio, develops his own healthy body because of vegetables, tells the world to start eating vegetables. Millions, tens of millions of people healthier because of this man who was born to an ice cream empire, corporation. And that was not easy. Like, most people do not know what John has had to face within himself. The 90-degree angle he had to go from everything that he knew and everything he grew up with, the amount of courage, the amount of vulnerability it's taken. And he's given me so much hope as I've watched him never sacrifice his mission-driven orientation to his life.
I would say that money is not the answer, that money is not the way, and that following your integrity, following your truth and understanding, and doing your best to relate that to people in a humble, accessible way for the greater good is something that I hold incredibly dear and incredibly high. And that is the thing I think that can change the world.
Yeah, John has just walked in the world with such humility and such presence, like being present to people in their suffering, being present to people in their pain, and recognizing that pain can be transmuted into something that is of service for the well-being and care of all life. And I think that is the message that I would offer from his legacy onward, is just that we can be with each other in the pain. We don't have to walk away. We don't have to hide it. We don't have to pretend it doesn't exist. We can be there and be present with it. And our presence will change it for something that can be moved into making a positive and contributive difference to the health and well-being and wholeness of all life here. And John has really stood for that and done that at every moment. So
we're at a crossroads here. We know we are. And old world order structures are crumbling in front of our eyes. We have such opportunity right now to build on the legacy that John Robbins has laid for us. We can rebuild our food systems. We can rebuild our social justice systems. We can take care of each other like we never have before. John Robbins really saw the world as it was and wants for us what it looks like right now. We're not doing, but out of the rubble, we can build what he envisions, both for our food systems and for our collective humanity.
I think one of the most important things that John Robbins has taught me that I want the world to know is that we can not only live well through compassion and kindness and taking care of our health, but we live better. It's because of his message and his book and his words that I'm alive today, because I became vegetarian and then became plant-based and then found the path to my own wellness. And so I think a lot of times people think that when they choose something that's kinder or they choose something that's healthier, they're giving something up. But rather, you actually enhance your life and you become more of what you could be, and you have a greater impact on this world. And I think that that's the legacy that John has, is he helps all of us become more so that we can have a greater impact.
The word that comes to mind when I think of John is integrity. Live with integrity. And this is so important right now in 2025 in the United States, everything that we're going on in this country and abroad. Live with integrity. It's being honest and having these moral, ethical principles that you don't change. And that takes a lot of courage, and he's shown that from a young man throughout his adulthood.
I think the most fundamental thing that John has given us is the idea that we are the architects of our health destiny. But it goes well beyond that, because the choices that we make in terms of lifestyle, certainly the foods that we eat, clearly influence our health. But beyond that, have implications globally in terms of everyone around us and even the health of the planet. I mean, John made it very clear that when we pursue an animal-based diet, that ultimately has climate-related issues associated with it that we are seeing now manifesting. And yet, could we pursue other choices that would be better for ourselves and better for those around us and better for the climate of the planet? You bet we could. And, John, you were certainly very early to the party as it relates to getting that messaging out, and your work still stands. And for so many of us who are watching the changes that are happening in the world today, we're not in a great place, but we would be in a worse place had it not been for everything that you've done. So again, so much gratitude.
The number one cause of virtually all of our chronic disease and the number one cause of our most pressing global sustainability issues is one and the same, our Western industrialized diet. And the choices we should be making to protect our health, to fight disease, and to protect our natural resources are one and the same. It's shifting to a whole food, plant-predominant dietary lifestyle, because that is what will turn the tide on the unsustainable trajectory of chronic disease that we face and are experiencing. It will also be what helps us to preserve our natural resources, to preserve our water, to bring about reforestation, to rein in greenhouse gas emissions, and to feed what soon will be 9 billion people on the face of the earth.
When you think about John Robbins, you think about love, about family, about courage. His work continues and will continue. And so I'm just so happy to join John and his legion of friends from around the world to say thank you. Thanks for being there for us. Thanks for showing us the path towards health. Thanks for bringing to this country a food consciousness, which is critical for Americans to have an opportunity to have a healthier life, a life of to experience actual joy that comes from health, and to be able to embrace the love that comes from you. Thank you, John.
I think the most important thing you can do to carry the torch of John's legacy is to continue the conversation that he so clearly and consciously started about how all of your choices about what to eat and not to eat have an immediate, direct, and lasting impact on the environment, of course, on animals, and on the sustainability of this planet that we will leave to generations that follow us.
One of the most powerful aspects of John's legacy is that we can make a difference, each of us, not only in empowering our own lives, but in the lives of other people and the world in general. It's so easy to feel a sense of like, what can I do as one person? But John showed us what one person can do, that each of us can do. And to that extent, I think the world is a better place for that.
The thing that comes to my mind is something I've heard him say over and over again, which is, may all be fed, may all be healed, may all be loved. And that's his message, right? His message of healing through love, healing through caring for other people, and that we want that. Everybody needs to feel loved and cared for and healed, and the world needs healing. The world needs big time healing. And if we can do that through the message of love and loving each other, loving him, loving the legacy that we have the ability to leave.
One of the things that John mentions in his book, and it resonated with me and with a lot of people, the components on your plate impacts how you think about yourself in relation to other sentient beings and to the planet as well. So we make that decision many times during that day, and it has to be a conscious decision. We have to be aware of that decision. And that resonated with me, and it has resonated with so many people. And for us to be aware of the system that we're involved in and how that food comes on our plate and how it gets distributed to the community is incredibly important. Sometimes we feel that we're in our own silo, but we have to be aware that whatever decision we make impacts not just us, but our world as well. And I think
John was one of the first few people who made all of us aware of that. And I think that that legacy will live with us forever, and it has impacted all of us significantly.
The message is that we are as important as the waves we create, the ripples that actually impact everything around us. What he has left behind is a tsunami that will forever change the landscape. That's what he is. And the landscape that he has left behind is one that's better because of the waves that he has created, and will forever change the history of mankind. I really think it's that consequential.
The magnificence of his message, the inspiration that he has kindled in my heart and in now millions of people around the world. He has changed the course of the plant-based movement. John is now teaching a lesson in mortality and living your life to the fullest and getting the most out of our lives. All of us are here for such a brief time. And as Mark Twain says, it's for but an instant, and there's nothing to do but love. Nobody's getting out of here alive. John's example is to fill our lives with as much love and compassion and service and truth as we possibly can.
So when John first wrote, he had creativity, inspiration, excitement. And for you and me to continue his legacy in some ways will also involve courage. And I think the greatest honor that we can do him is to make sure we live up to the task. I think we're ready. I think we have been prepared. And I think no matter who has lived or when in our own lives, it's our turn now.
Look, everybody, we got to get real. The U.S. spends more money on healthcare than any other country in the world. Most people are making their health decisions on autopilot. They're eating what's cheap, what's fast, what's convenient, without realizing that the entire food system has been hijacked. And unless you make very conscious decisions, you're not only contributing to your own ill health, but to the ill health of the planet. And so the truth is your choices matter. And every single time you sit down and have a meal, you're shaping your future, your energy, your health, your vitality, and everything that's you're going to be putting in your body becomes you. So John Robbins had the guts to walk away from a family fortune to do what's right. He dedicated his life to saving other people's health and teaching people their food choices are the most powerful decisions they make. So let's honor him and these principles. Let's wake up. Let's take control of our own health. Let's read his books. Let's spread his message. And remember, what you put on your plate determines where the world will be like tomorrow. I hope you hear this message, and I hope for your sake and for the people you care about, you act on it.
Dearest John, I will be forever grateful for the privilege of knowing you, learning from you, and being your cherished friend. Thank you so much for your extraordinary example of a truly meaningful life. Thank you for having the courage and wisdom to make choices that might appear on the surface to defy rationality, but are closely rooted in ethical and ecological imperatives that are necessary for the preservation of this planet. You have very selflessly prioritized moral responsibility over personal gain. Your unwavering dedication to truth, your profound sense of justice, and your courageous willingness to challenge the status quo is nothing short of heroic. You have raised the collective consciousness of this world. Your influence, I believe, will ripple through time, carried forward by those you have inspired. You, my dear friend, will never be forgotten. Your light will continue to shine in the lives of those you have touched, the principles you have championed, and the better world you have created. You, my dear friend, are loved beyond words.
The stars in the sky are millions and millions and millions of light years away. That means the light you're seeing that they cast off has traveled for millions of years. And in fact, some of those stars that we look at have died and gone away, but the light they gave off while they were alive goes on in perpetuity, goes on forever. You are one of the brightest stars in my life. And I think one of the brightest stars of the constellation of humanity. And I don't know about life or death. I actually think that there is no death, that the spirit goes on, but take it from a physicist. You have cast off such brilliance that energy will continue forever. Thank you for lighting up my world and helping so many others like me see a better way forward. I love you.
John, I just want to say thank you for being my mentor and my friend, and for guiding me along on how to make a message clear, powerful, convincing, empowering. And I have to say that I know that you and I are at some point going to go across the great divide, so to speak. Well, I'm going to be there working with you there too.
I would just say thank you for fighting. Thank you for never giving up. Thank you for being a teacher and a man and a father and a son, all the way up until you're the end of your life, and a husband and a friend. Thank you for your humility. Thank you for leaving this world a better place and being honest about what it takes to be on a mission, that it's not always easy, and it's not convenient, and it's not comfortable. And we're here to be on purpose. We're here to make a difference. And you, John, have magnetized the people and the circumstances into your life to be able to truly make your mark. And there are hundreds of thousands of women whose businesses are thriving and growing and who are on purpose because I've been influenced by your commitment and your love.
John, thank you so much for bringing so many gifts in one lifetime to share with us, to share with me personally, just getting to receive your inspiration, your story, your how you walk and move in the world, for sharing with so many young leaders who I got to bear witness to you bringing your message and your experiences to, and also for sharing with the wider world. Like, I don't know how one person makes such an impact, but you've been an inspiration, and I feel like we're forever connected because you brought us together, you married us, you had that tremendous role of ceremonial holder in our own life. And so I'm just wanting to know how much I love you, how much I appreciate you, and I hope you can rest in power and peace because you've made such an impact.
And I want to say thank you for raising Ocean. I know you invested so much of your life in him and poured your goodness and your thoughtfulness and your world-encompassing vision and your heart and your mind and your soul into him. And he's here with us, and he's going to carry your legacy forward.
He has just made such a positive influence for so many people. He's helped people be kinder, be more compassionate, live healthier lives. And he has a presence. It's a voice and a presence that comes from a lot of reflection, his own experience, that is in itself so kind. There are many activists that are in your face, that are angry, and they should be angry because the world can be very violent and very cruel. And John's not like that. He always comes from a space of love, and it's it's easier to bring people in that way and not turn them off. His work will definitely live on.
John, I want you to know that I am grateful for all that you have done globally in terms of really messaging people that lifestyle choices are hugely influential in terms of charting their outcome. You've done it with grace. You've done it with skill. I will never forget that, and I'm very grateful for that.
And we owe him a debt of gratitude and are so grateful to him and his legacy, the legacy that will live on through Ocean, through Food Revolution Network. So heartfelt thanks to John Robbins.
A year from now, John Robbins' work lives. 10 years from now, it lives. 100 years from now, it lives. That John has created a place that few people have been able to, and that is a place in the consciousness of the world with respect to the connection between health and food and all of the other systems that are involved. So there's no way to think of John Robbins in the past tense.
John, thank you so much for leaving me with something that I will forever remember with fondness and appreciate about you, and that is your quiet strength. You have this demeanor about you that is so respectful in communicating, and your ability to actively listen has always impressed me. There's such a calmness and a kindness about you that truly exudes the heart and soul of plant-based living, right? Not just of eating, but of living. You have truly walked the talk, and it's so admirable. And thank you for leading by example.
Just on a personal note, we don't see each other that often, but he's one of those people that we have such a deep connection that when we do see each other, it's as like we just saw each other the day before. So John, if you're seeing this, I love you, I respect you, and I appreciate you, and I'm going to miss you like so many other people. We'll see each other in the next life. Thank you for being my friend.
I feel very honored and very grateful to have had the opportunity to personally know John and to have been in his presence a number of times and to just really share. He has a genuine heart for caring for people, really, really on a deep level. And I feel honored to have been part of that.
My hope and my promise is that we will always carry his spirit forward. If John's story teaches us anything, it's that every choice that we make, from the food on our plates to the causes that we champion, we will help build a more compassionate and a more sustainable world. And he was one individual who made a very difficult decision, but his impact is immeasurable. And we're living that every single day.
As the great sage said, the arc of history is long, but it will always bend towards justice. And I want people never to lose hope, because loss of hope is the most paralyzing, the most destructive thing that we could ever do for ourselves as well as the planet. Every positive act, every courageous step we take toward the right thing, the right action that goes beyond our own selfish, infinite regress to things that are beyond us and expand the circle of empathy. It will always change the world. We will have a hand in that arc and will change the world. Don't worry about what's happening around us this moment. History shows it. There's been calamities, terrible things, but those that do the positive will always change the world, will always bend the arc of history. And John, he has had a major pull on that arc.
Absolutely. It's difficult to top that, was it? It's never a loss to stand up for love and compassion. It may feel lonely, it may feel difficult, but it's never a loss. It's always a win for you and for everyone else around you.
So, John, I have nothing but thanks for you. You have done so much for my life, and I want you to know how loved you are. by the millions of people that you have inspired and helped, and by this physician to whom you have taught so much about healing the body, healing our daily lives, healing the planet. Uh, this world is better that you have been here, John. It's a kinder, gentler, nobler world for the example that you have set and continue to set as your ally, as your friend, as as we would sign each other our letters to each other, your brother in the spirit. I can only say thank you, John, and I love you, and thank you for all you are in my life, all you have been, and all you will continue to be. Thank you. Blessings of peace upon you. Mission accomplished. You have led a magnificent life, and you've been a gift to all of us. Thank you, John. Know how much you are loved.
Well, John, you know, Carl Jung said that the failure to deal with the topic of death robs the second half of life of its meaning. We've known that for a long time. I'm 72. I think that those of a certain age are well aware that we are in our chapter 3. I think those of us who are spiritually aware know that this is just one chapter in a book that never ends. The beginning of our physical life is not the beginning. Birth is not the beginning, but a continuation. And death is not an end, but a continuation. So I know I have certainly enjoyed this chapter of my relationship with you. I'm sure you're feeling and thinking the way I am, which is all we're going to do when we leave here is take off a suit of clothes. The spirit's eternal. The spirit's not touched by any of this. And there are as many people we're going to see over there while we wait and prepare for the people who will be coming later. All of us are leaving, some of us on the 10:07, some of us on the 11:15. But at the same time, you're a human being, as am I. I think so many of us don't have a problem with death. We just have a problem with dying. I think Woody Allen said, I don't mind if I'm going to die. I just don't want to be there when it happens. I do get the very sorrowful level on which this plays out. Your precious family. I have seen Ocean's writing. I've lost both my parents. I know the sorrow. I know the paradox of it. But I also want you to keep in mind, you're not going anywhere. And I'll see you in a few minutes. All of us will. And I know that your family is going to hold the most sacred light around whatever this runway is before your takeoff into higher realms. And none of us know. None of us know. None of us know who's going tomorrow. None of us know who's going years from now. But I want you to remember, and I know you do, and I know that people are telling you, you did good. You did really, really good. You enriched my life. You enriched the culture. You did good. And I have faith that as much as going on the other side of the veil as goes on here. Be well and happy over there. I know you're going to be well and happy because that's all that exists. And in the meantime, I hope you can experience the sacred even in this. I'm not worried about you. I'm worried about your family, you know, those who are so attached to the specifically human reality here. But I know you know. And I just, I send you my love. And I don't see this as the end of anything. And I hope you don't either. Be well, my friend.
John, my friend, you have lived a life of such incredible meaning. You know, it's one thing to live life, but it's another thing to live a meaningful life. And you didn't just have an impact on yourself or your family, but you really changed the world. You woke people up. You know, you helped them to see, you know, what they put in their plates doesn't just affect their health, but the future of the planet itself. And the things you fought for, my brother, They're becoming mainstream now. I get emotional. I think about it for you because of you. The people listen because of you. They listen. It wasn't just your knowledge. It was you. It was your relentless passion. It was your heart. It was the fact that you never backed down, that you never gave up, that you just kept pushing with love and truth and with a desire to really help people sincerely. And the beautiful thing is your legacy isn't stopping here. I just want to say God bless to you. I know you're moving into the next stage of your soul's unfoldment. And I just want you to know you did your part, brother. You changed the game. And we're going to make damn sure that the message you put out there keeps going. Blessings to you all.
I believe John Robbins has forged a path towards a more compassionate, sustainable, and healthier world. He taught us that our choices matter, not just for ourselves, but beyond ourselves. And we must carry on his legacy and continue making the changes that he so mindfully initiated in this world. To honor this legacy, let us widen our circles of compassion, recognizing that all beings deserve respect and freedom from suffering. Let us nourish our bodies in a manner that is both ethically justifiable and ecologically sustainable. Let us make choices that recognize and appreciate the indelible connection between all living things. Let us love one another. The greatest revolutions, I believe, begin with the simplest actions. Every bite we take, every purchase we make, and every action we embrace shapes the future for our children, our grandchildren, and all life on this planet. Each and every one of us who shares John's vision, who prays for peace, who dreams of a gentler world, has a responsibility to turn these thoughts into actions and to do what is within their capacity to move us closer to this reality. Walk this path with consciousness, confidence, and courage. Be kind. Live with integrity and purpose. In so doing, you will change the world and redefine it for generations to come.
I'm so glad that you're here, as there's something I want to share with you. Some of you may have been part of this movement for decades, or maybe this has been your first exposure to this work. But wherever you are on this journey, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your presence, for your willingness to learn, and for all the ways that you have let love guide your life. To all of you who long for a world with less pain and more love, and to all of you who are doing what you can in your own ways to make a difference, you are inspirations to me. And if you're feeling a sense of hope or a spark of possibility based on what you've learned, I want to encourage you, hold on to that hope. Nurture it. Let it take shape in your life. Share it with others who might be receptive. And if you're struggling, whether it be with a chronic condition that no diet or medical treatment can cure, or with the weight of the world's pain, I offer you my heart. I offer you my understanding, and I offer you my love. None of us know how much time we have left in these bodies, but what I do know is that every moment that you have is precious. Every choice that you make matters. Every time you act with integrity, every time you align your choices with your true values, you're doing something wonderful. You're nourishing your own health and happiness, but that's not all. You're also bringing more compassion and more healing into this world. I've spent most of my life working for a world where food is a source of nourishment, not suffering, where humanity recognizes that our health is inseparable from the health of the planet and that all life matters. And I'm deeply grateful for the privilege of being a leader in this movement for the past 40 years. And now, as the time has come for me to pass the torch, I thank you all for doing what you can. This work is now in your hands. I send you my deepest wishes for healing, for joy, and for peace, for you, for those you hold dear, and for our precious and hurting world. And now in this torch-passing moment, I ask you to carry it forward in all the ways that you can. Live it in your choices. Share it in your own ways. I will close now with a prayer that lives deep in my heart and has guided my life. It has closed every Food Revolution Summit we've offered, and it's been the heartbeat of every book I've written. It's short and it's simple, but it carries the hope I hold for our common future. May all be fed. May all be healed. May all be loved.